Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back and we are wrapping up the Premonition series. Premonition by Amy Bartol. And we are on book number 5, which is called Iniquity. I'm trying something different with the tripod today because I feel like it's like right up in my face, so I kind of moved. But now I feel like it's way too far back. So. We'll see. All right, so Premonition number 5, Iniquity, the last book. I am sticking with my initial and throughout assessment of 4 stars. In fact, that's what I gave it on Goodreads. I gave it a 4 stars. It is still a good series. I enjoyed it. I liked the ending. I liked the way things wrapped up. And then there were also some surprises. There's still no smoke. But I did feel like it was a good book and a good series. So, and it's free on Kindle Unlimited right now. So if you would like to burn up some hours on some books, this is the series for you. I saw 37 hours and I was like, yes, lots of free time. That could go both ways because the guy's name is Reed. Okay, anyway. So, number 5, this is your spoilers alert. Spoilers. Okay. So it starts out, Evie's dreaming of an apocalypse, and then Brenna shows up. Reed wakes her up. She's possessed by Brennis. She, aka Brennis, fights Reed, bites Reed, and then turns the dagger on herself as the way to expel Brennis, because that's the only way that she can get Brennis gone. Xavier shows up and captures Buns and Brownie, because they went to go do Reaper stuff. And in order to get Buns and Brownie back, Evie has to come out of the house because Russell has it like protected with like a magical barrier. And so Evie goes out to talk to Xavier, and he wants to know where the ring he gave her in high school is. So she tells him, you know, it's buried in the front yard because I was mad at you because you broke up with me. And then some demon pterodactyls show up. Yeah. And they're busy fighting the demon pterodactyls. When somebody else shows up, they can't see him or them because you don't know what it is. You just know that they feel somebody there, but they don't see the person. They don't know who it is. And all of a sudden, the demon pterodactyls are killed and turned into petals. So Xavier leaves. Reed's like, Evie, we got to go. We got to beat X to the house. So they get in their car and they're racing X, and like they have this whole like battle in the road. And they leave X on the side of the road, but when they get to the house, X is already there with her dad, Tal, and Cole. And they already have the ring. And apparently the rings turn into something called a boatswain, which is some sort of whistle that was used on naval ships back in the day to give sailors orders. But this one opens the doorway to hell, aka Sheol, which is what they call it in the book, Sheol. And Reed and X start fighting, of course. Evie blows the whistle trying to get them to quit fighting, and ends up opening a doorway to hell and passing out. Tal has to take the whistle and blow the right tones to close the doorway to hell. And then some guy named Emil shows up. And Evie like switches to thinking about her past life. So in her past life, her very last, this previous life, she was Simone in France, okay? And Simone apparently was taken by this guy named Emil, and Emil was torturing her, and she's, you know, stuck in this, reliving these memories. And Brennis comes in her dream and heals her, saves her. She wakes up in her old house with Xavier. Emil and the Fallen are now outside, like, fighting everybody. So the Fallen and the Divine are fighting each other. She goes out and fights Emil and rips his heart out. And you're just like, what happens the rest of the book? Like, that's a little weird, right? It wasn't Emil. Emil had possessed Owen, the guy that took her to the dance, the formal, way back when. And so she just killed Owen. So Emil is possessing humans, and Emil like grabs Evie and opens up a portal. And then the point of view switches to Reed, and Reed is imprisoned under the chateau again. In Tao's fortress. Yes. So Russell sends a clone because he's trying to find Evie and can't. He ends up untying Reed. Reed tries to escape. The point of view then switches to Russell. Russell, Z, Anya, Buns, and Brownie are getting ready to leave the Reed's house. Buns and Brownie make it through a portal when the Fallen show up, and then Emil shows up. And they're fighting, but they're just outnumbered. And Russell calls Emil Jet, which that name, I feel like we've heard before. Like, Emil just came out of nowhere. Like, I don't know who Emil is, right? And I've read all these books. But Jet, I think Russell explains, is the pharaoh when they were living in ancient Egypt that killed them for falling in love, because apparently he was like her half-sister / queen / whatever. So anyway, they're outnumbered. They're literally about to be killed by the Fallen, and Brenna shows up. Brenna and the fellas. So, Brenna gives Russell energy so that he can do magic, and he sends Anya through a portal to protect her. Emil literally takes a dagger and like rips the fabric of space and time and opens the gateway to hell. And all hell breaks loose. Anyway, so Brenna and Finn try to close the hole with magic to save everybody and get them the heck out of there. Then we switch point of views back to Evie. You literally have everybody's point. You get Russell, Evie, Reed, and Brenna. So anyway, so Evie ends up in a bedroom in like some mountain fortress that has literally been like carved out of the mountain in the Arctic. Yeah. And apparently it's Xavier's fortress. She sends a clone to Reed, and he is trying to get out of the St. Lawrence Chateau when Tao shows up and calls X and is like, well, we don't know what he says, but X subsequently drugs Evie. So in her dream, again, Brenna shows up. So the reason he's able to do this is because he kept the vials with her blood in it that she had saved for herself in case she got bitten. And he's been drinking them because apparently if he drinks them, then he can come visit her in her dreams like freaking Freddy Cougar. So he kisses her to heal her so he can walk her around and see the fortress. And then it switches to Brennis's point of view, and he's in a house in Detroit. And the reason he went there and took the Gankanak there is because that's where Evie's from. And so he wanted to be close to where she was from. So then it switches to Russell. And Russell and Anya finally have sexy time in the laundry room, which God knows they needed it. Then we switch point of view to Reed. And he gets summoned by Tao, and Tao's like, look, I know I was trying to take you out, but clearly heaven wants you involved, so I need you to help us defeat the Fallen, okay? So then it switches to Evie's point of view again. She's still at Xavier's Arctic fortress. This angel, a cherubim called Atwater, shows up, and come to find out he's Brennis's guardian angel, and he tells Evie that Tao is going to give him the boatswain. He will hide the boatswain in a statue. She's supposed to tell Reed, make sure that Reed gets the boatswain, and then her and Reed, peace out. Because that's what needs to happen. So Tao shows up with Reed. X brings in Atwater. There's like a thing, they're back and forth because X doesn't want Atwater to have the boatswain. Anyway, Tao gives Atwater the boatswain. Reed attacks Atwater and like goes down this tunnel to make it look like he took care of Atwater, but Atwater really disappeared because Tao wanted Reed to kill Atwater. Anyway, Evie finds a portal. She goes first. Reed comes after. They're in X's house near Detroit. That's where the portal took them. Reed blows the whistle because Atwater had told him or told her to tell him to blow this specific tune. So he did. And when he did, it opens Evie's memories. She can remember her memories. So she's back as Simone in France. And Emil is being a monster. And she tries to take Emil's gun and shoot him with it, but there's no bullets. So he then proceeds to like beat her. She tries to run away, runs into a barn. He takes out his cane, starts beating her with his cane. Come to find out she was pregnant with his child where he had raped her. And Reed had been following Emil to try and get to his handler, which is a fallen seraphim named Byzantine. Anyway, Reed kills Emil because he can't stand seeing what he's doing to Evie, and he tries to heal Evie, but it's too late. Like, she's dying. So instead, it's a lot of talking. So instead, he uses his voice power on her to take her pain away. And so because of that, Reed's in trouble. And she asks him, like, why did you do that? You weren't supposed to interfere. You're going to be in big trouble. And so Reed tells her, so here's one of my quotes. I just wanted it all to end. I wanted to go home to paradise, but it never happened. And I saw you, and I watched you, and I knew we're the same, you and I. We're both caught in the wheel, and it just spins. Which, I like that. And it reminded me of Game of Thrones. When Khaleesi says, I'll break the wheel. So, Reed has broken the law by killing Emil, because he's not supposed to interfere. And he's going to be executed. So, to stop that, she calls out an angel champion. And I don't know if she's naming him as her champion or she's naming herself as his champion. It's kind of both, really. So, anyway, because of that, Byzantine was beating up Xavier. Byzantine gets called into the barn because Reed has broke the law, and Byzantine's supposed to step in and do something. But she calls out champion, and so they have to negotiate. So Atwater shows up to do the negotiations between heaven and hell. So as part of her negotiations, well, Byzantine calls Alfred to come in and reap Emil's soul, and Emil kind of botches the negotiations. But anyway, part of the negotiations is that she has to come back blind, right? She can't have any of her memories. That's why she didn't remember any of her past lives, because that was part of the bargain. But if anyone let something slip, like Emil did, then she could recover her memories. Also, that once she begins turning into an angel, like AKA when she turned 18 and went to college, she could no longer have her guardians. So that's why Tao, Cole, and X, even though they had been around her whole life, once she went to college, they were called back to heaven. So, and they could not go. And also that Reed would, Byzantine bets that Reed will kill her on sight. And Reed says, no, I'll be her guardian. But the deal is that all the angels that were involved in the negotiations have to have their memories erased too. So Reed doesn't remember any of this either. So, here's another quote that I like, and this is like when Evie's dying or whatever. Well, she's already dead. So it's her spirit talking to Reed. Anyway. And she's like, why would you do that? You risked everything. And he says, it's as if there's this invisible string wound around my heart and you control its beat with a look, with a gesture. I feel the mark of you here. And he points to his heart. So she wakes back up. Russell's clone shows up and they come up with a plan. They leave X's house and they go back to Crestwood. They all meet up in a restaurant and spend the night, kind of have one last night with each other, and then they head to meet Brennis. And Brennis and Finn help them armor up. Sorry, y'all. There's my waiting to be filled bookshelf. Help them armor up because Finn has made all this special armor and a special weapon for Evie, which is like it reminds me of Thor's hammer from Marvel, y'all. It's a war hammer, but it makes her invisible and it listens to her because it's made by fairies. So anyway, they head to Crestwood. They battle Emil and the Fallen that are pouring through the hole that he ripped in the gateway that he opened to hell. As soon as Reed gets a hold of Emil and wounds him, Emil goes home back to Sheol. Reed follows him into Sheol. Evie, of course, follows Reed. Finn and Brennis try to follow Evie, but they can't get in because their souls are in Sheol. And so they're like blocked. They can't get in. So anyway, so she goes on in. She's invisible because she's got the hammer. She crosses some bridge and finds Reed and then the Gankanak. Their souls. But they don't know her. Right? Because they've been in Sheol this whole time. They don't know her from Adam's house cat. So they capture her and Reed, take them to Emil, who then takes them to Byzantine, who's torturing Xavier. So Evie can't deal with the torture. So she, to kind of protect herself, whatever, starts humming the song that Brennus's battle axe sings when she touches it. Brennus starts humming it, and then she hums Finn's Warhammer song, and so they all kind of wake up and their eyes are opened, and they, you know, turn to her and look for instructions, and she says, kill him. And so they kill Emil, and then she tells them to kill Byzantine, and they kill Byzantine, but X is dying. And she can't heal him. Like, she tries to heal him and she can't heal him. And so she's like, you know, I surrender. I give up. I give up my choice if you'll let him ascend, because she wants to save Xavier's soul. So Xavier ascends. Well, part of the original bargain, because Reese had wanted nothing more than to go to paradise, was for Reese to ascend if she won, because she didn't know him from Adam's house cat when she made the bargain. So Reed ascends. So Reed ascends, Xavier ascends. So she literally loses two of her loves in the same, like, you know, kind of moment. So she's devastated, obviously. Brennus and the fellas take her back to the house in Detroit. And when she's in her room, Brennus comes in to try and comfort her, because apparently she was like screaming in her sleep. And he tells her, this is another one of my quotes: in a very real way, you died yesterday. You'll never be the same. Don't try to be. And I felt like that was really, there's a lot of good sage advice in these books, because, you know, whenever we go through something traumatic, you're not ever going to be the same, right? You might recover, but you'll never be who you were before you were traumatized. And I think sometimes we feel pressure to just get over it. And, you know, the truth is that it might be something that you have to work on for a long time. On that note, so here's another quote from Brennus. He says, you go on from here, you learn from the past, but don't try to live in it. It's gone and you can't change it. So you have to move forward, right? The past has already happened. We can't change it. We can't go back. And he tells her, we'll heal our scars one day and be who we are. So anyway, a few months go by, and Evie so she's been given this job, like, you know, she was stuck on Earth, and Atwater tells her, and I think her dad tells her, you know, there's still souls that need to be rescued from Sheol. So her and Brennus have to work together to go to Sheol and rescue the Gankanak's souls. And so that's what she's been doing. And she's trying to save this one Gankanak, and he ain't having it. He's beating her up. And so Reed actually shows up, and apparently he's been there this whole entire time. He was assigned as her guardian angel, but he couldn't say anything because he couldn't interfere unless her life was in danger. So that was him, you know, coming in. So then she leaves Brennus's house and moves in with Reed, and the whole gang is there because Reed's like, you know, they made me a guardian of the key. He has the key to paradise while she has the key to Sheol. And he said they let me bring a team. So, of course, she had Buns, Brownie, because all of them had ascended too. So, Buns, Brownie, Russell, Anya, Zephyr, Preben, like the gang's all here, okay? And, but she still has to work with Brennus. They still have a job to do, right? So, one night, Brennus is coming to pick her up because they have to have a meeting to go over, you know, their strategy or whatever. And she goes to get something for Brennus, and when she comes back, she overhears Brennus and Reed talking. And Brennus says, did I ever tell you about the Fairy Queen? And Reed's like, no, you know, I'm sure you're going to. And so he tells Reed, he says that one day an angel came to see the queen of the fairies and told her that the only way to save her people, there was a great evil coming, and the only way to save her people was to be reborn as a human, and that she would have to suffer and she would live many lives before she was actually able to save her people. But if she did this, she would be able to save them. And so basically, I think he's telling Reed, because he tells Evie, he's like, I knew you before you were ever even born, before you were ever even a human. And I think he's trying to tell Reed that Evie used to be the queen of the fairies. And that's why he was always calling her my queen. That's why they always wanted her to be queen, because he knew she was the queen reborn as a human. And that she was the one who would save her people. And that was her job, and that's what she was doing. So it's that's it. It kind of leaves there's some questions, because so if she was always the queen of the fairies, then wasn't she always meant to be with Brennus? That's question one. And question number two, Atwater at some point says that Reed wasn't supposed to be there, that he's like he's setting things back by being there, because Reed was not supposed to, he was never supposed to be part of the equation. And so whatever is supposed to happen is delayed or pushed back because of Reed's presence. So I don't know. I don't know if there's more to the story, if there will be more, if there's spinoffs or what. And so that's why there's kind of those open questions. But I really enjoyed the series. I felt like it was a good ending. I liked it. It was not what I saw coming, because I just knew from the other books that there was going to be this happily ever after, right? But there's not. I mean, there is, but there isn't. There is, but it's complicated, right? Because it's not entirely, because there's still other things at play and going on. So I really like the series. And like I said, if you got Kindle Unlimited, check it out. Thanks.